Hello. Okay. I think this is going to work this time. Okay. All right. This is for little Quinton Simon from Savannah, Georgia. Quinton Simon. And I'm doing this because I can't figure out how to get a video get a video made on my computer. I made a really nice video for him and I recorded all this and put a bunch of pictures over it, and I don't know what happened to it. It just didn't save, and I can't figure out how to make a video with pictures and upload it to YouTube from my computer. I don't know why that's so hard. I did it from my phone just fine, but I'll figure it out. So, Quinton Simon went missing from Buckhalter Road in Savannah, Chatham County, Georgia, October 5th, 2022. This is the second time I'm doing this because the first time I apparently wasn't live the whole time, and I thought I was. So I already did this whole thing and I was talking to nobody. So, Quinton Simon, he went missing from Buckhalter Road in Savannah, Georgia, in Chatham County, October 5th of 2022. Leilani Simon, who allegedly had to be told to dial 911 after waking up a half hour earlier, around 9:40 in the morning, was when 911 was called. Billy Joe was out of state working, as far as I'm aware. She had a babysitter paid for and set up, and there was never a plan for Leilani to be alone with the children. And if I am correct, I believe she never was alone with Quinton. There were other people in that house when Quinton was reported missing. In my opinion, oh shoot, I just went all the way back down to the last page. In my opinion, something happened the night of October 4th, and Leilani had to find a way to dispose of Quinton before anyone could find out. So she took him to a dumpster, knowing it was trash day and knowing it would go to the landfill, where chances were so slim he would be found. She wasn't, however, relying on the fact that the search team Quinton would have would be one of the best. I don't know how she could have done something to him without Danny knowing, but Leilani was named the only suspect for a reason, so maybe there was a chunk of the night Danny wasn't there that they have evidence of Leilani doing something to Quinton in those hours, or maybe they don't and Danny does need to be looked at harder. After all, he did have those weird lyrics in which he says, I am fully rooted in this backwoods hollow town. Throw him in the river, ain't no bodies ever found. Catfish ate him up and they digest all the bone. Children go to missing, they don't ever go back home. That's not verbatim, but it's like 99% close. Daniel Youngkin was living in the home with Quinton during the time of his disappearance. He was also brought in and questioned directly following Quinton going missing. News stations have reached out to Daniel Youngkin with no luck in communication. Danny has had 2 arrests in Harnett County, North Carolina, where Leilani has a felony for stealing $20 from a former employer. Both arrests involve drugs, allegedly. A close friend of Danny Youngkin had a conversation with Crystal's Crime Time saying, Danny is a kind and loving person who took care of the kids and purchased them necessary items that they needed and that he cannot see hurting anyone. Stating Danny is one of the kindest humans you could ever meet, saying it'll all come to light soon. Another person tells her the children are in an undisclosed location with Leilani's aunt that CPS took them. Danny literally didn't speak to Leilani from the time he left for work till the time Leilani called Danny around 9 a.m. allegedly. And allegedly, Danny passed a polygraph and Leilani failed, according to this person, and was caught lying to Danny and police on October 5th. And that's all alleged, according to a person CCT talked to. That's Crystal's Crime Time. They also say police took Danny's phone and gave it back but never returned Leilani's. So take what you want from all that. I found it interesting. Living with Quinton at his beloved grandmother's house was his grandma Billie Jo Howell, her husband Tommy Howell, and Quinton's beloved grandfather, and Leilani's brother Paul Simon, Quinton's uncle, who came on panel and discussed some bits about Quinton on Shares Live. Danny Youngkin, Leilani, and Leilani's 3 children, who did not all belong to Danny, all lived there as well. Danny's child with Leilani is her youngest, Sky. Her other son, Zane, is with another man as well. And yes, Quinton's bio dad was interviewed and questioned by officials and not named a suspect. Billie Jo says of Leilani that sometimes she does really good and then sometimes she doesn't, as we can see. She says she wants justice at any cost. Billie Jo and Tommy seem to me to be very good people with a good heart. People give Billie Jo hell because she says she raised 2 murderers, but she did raise 2 children. However, they grew to make their own decisions and she did not back them up. She herself brought Leilani to justice. She does not defend her son, who sits in prison, either. This does not define Billie Jo, and I am willing to bet she is not alone on this. Some paint a dark picture of inside the home, some that wouldn't truly know, making assumptions, accusations, and speculating based on information they get from this said someone, being Diana McCarta, Quinton's babysitter, who allegedly babysat for him for 9 months before he went missing. And people are running with misinformation, and she's causing loads of misconception and hate to be spread in the name of a 20-month-old child that has been announced as missing and deceased. I am not okay with that. Diana McCarta came live on social media ranting about Quinton being mistreated and abused in his home on Buchalter Road. Diana led hundreds, if not thousands, of people overnight to believe that Quinton had belt marks around his neck, then turned around practically the next day and said she might have seen 2 little bruises that could have been from falling at her house. You can find the interaction between Billie Jo and the babysitter all over YouTube. BJ did not like the idea of Diana having a vigil for Quinton and screamed at Diana in defense of little Quinton at what is probably the worst time of her life, and she was recorded during it, having an emotional downfall. But you could see her mama bear claws come out, and I saw a lot of compassion in her that day. I know BJ has compassion because she has done all that she could for Leilani and was evicting her as tough love, which at a certain point is the right thing to do, so you're not just enabling. Well, Leilani let it get to that point. As far as I'm concerned, Danny didn't do enough to help them be on their own and help Leilani own up for her laziness and was enabling her. Leilani lost custody of Zane and Quinton when Quinton was 5 months old. The 2 were put in the custody of Billie Jo with their own set of guidelines that were not open to the public, that people do not know and cannot speak on like they are, because every case and set of guidelines and conditions is different for every child and every situation. When Leilani got pregnant with Sky, Billie Jo let them move back in with her until they could get on their feet, which Danny didn't seem to do much to help that. BJ has poured her heart and soul out missing baby Quinton. She has cried solid every night and day since October 5th. Luckily, she has a platform where she can speak and defend herself. She wants a platform of her own one day. The protesters that lived outside of her home for weeks cut into her life like a serrated blade. They tore into every crevice of her privacy and violated her sanity and emotions. They screamed things like Molly Golightly, saying, "Every time you take out your trash, I hope you see Quinton's face," even though Billie Jo is grieving and hurting and doesn't deserve anything along the line of hate. October 21st, 3 people were arrested for disorderly conduct and ignoring officers' orders to move after they parked in a car in BJ's driveway, preventing someone in BJ's home from being able to leave. There's been at least 5 protesters arrested, and the protest led to nearly violent attacks. A man legally assaulted a woman, and neighbors are in distress. November 2nd, protesters could be seen yelling into an open window at Quinton's home. It goes to show how far they will go for views on social media, considering they were yelling at a house for days on end with no suspects even inside. They never once protested Danny. BJ at one point even joined the protesters, even though she went as far as to cut dead fish to put in the front yard to deter them. She screamed several times over and over until her voice practically gave out. Justice for Quinton, justice for Quinton, right along with the protesters. BJ has stated several times, no matter what the price it comes at to her and her family, she wants justice for Quinton, which has clearly proved time and time again. She is having a hard time, as well as her husband, keeping work because the protesters have tainted their names, temporarily. That, I believe, will come back to bite the protesters in the ass and end up making Quinton's grandparents come out looking stronger and even better. At 9 a.m. on October 5th, BJ texted Diana asking, "Have you seen Quinton?" 42 minutes later is when 911 was called. By that night, the FBI was involved. Helicopters, police on horseback, tracking dogs, and police going door to door talking to the entire Savannah neighborhood. They searched dumpsters, trash cans, ditches, and drain pipes. They also searched the woods and recanvassed certain areas. October 10th, law enforcement drained the pool at Quinton's home. The same pool Diana told the news she thinks Quinton drowned in because she alleges she had found Quinton by himself in there before and had to get him out. This is when officials announced they are looking into the criminal aspect of the case. Both the 911 tape and the body cam footage are being restricted from the public due to the ongoing investigation. Court documents show that Leilani was at court and agreed to pay child support for the two children she lost custody of, Quinton and Zane. The judge ruled this exactly 1 week before Quinton was reported missing. This order was filed the day of Quinton's disappearance. On October 13th, police say this has become a recovery mission. Chief Hadley says they do have evidence which leads them to believe that Quinton is deceased and Leilani is their only suspect. They would not specify what the evidence was. Leilani has told police she thinks Quinton was abducted in the 911 dispatch. The dispatcher is advised Leilani woke up and the door was open and Quinton cannot open the door, so she thinks someone came in and took him. Leilani claims to remember nothing of that morning, which I think is complete bullshit. Chief Hadley has confirmed that they believe Quinton was killed and thrown into a dumpster, then transported to the waste management landfill, where they searched for a whole month, through disease and waste. The waste management landfill on Little Neck Road near L. Scottsdale Park. We want justice for Quinton just like everyone else, Chief Hadley says. We want to find his remains so we can give him a proper resting place, which by the grace of God, they did, even though every odd was against them, and statistics say it's damn near impossible. But for Quinton, they did it. They recovered him. Chief Hadley says after a couple weeks into Quinton's investigation, they'd conducted multiple interviews, executed multiple search warrants, and canvassed numerous specific geographical areas. There were more than 40 FBI agents and personnel on the ground searching for Quinton. Chief Hadley says he understands people far beyond Chatham County have become emotionally invested in Quinton's case, and he wants us to understand that he is committed to finding answers. He says we want to make sure we get it right and do this as expertly and professionally as we can, so if we have to prosecute anyone in the case, we know we've done it right. And I couldn't agree more, especially if they already know Quinton is passed and they know who has done it, but they are more concerned about finding him first. That shows a lot about their character. Regardless of this, everyone was looked at. Anyone with contact with Quinton in the days leading up to his disappearance was questioned and looked into. Quinton Simon, 20-month-old white male, last seen wearing a blue Sesame Street shirt and black pants, last seen at his home in Savannah, October 5th, allegedly around 6 a.m., last seen by Danny. Billy Joe and her husband had to sell one of their campers as they are now without employment and struggling. I believe they should be able to stay home as much as possible to grieve and deal with their private lives. If you would like to donate to Billy Joe, her Cash App is Billy Betterton, and you can find links to help on Share at Voices Behind the Wall on YouTube. Now, a month and a half after Quinton was reported missing, Leilani sits in Chatham County Jail for malice murder of her 20-month-old son. She has also been charged with concealing the death of another, false reporting, and making false statements. No other arrests are expected. Chief Hadley says they are confident that they had enough evidence to convict Leilani without a body, but not finding Quinton wasn't an option, and they know for sure they will see in this way they know for sure they will see a conviction. For all those bashing Quinton's grandmother, I hope you find it in your hearts to give her grace as she grieves the death of her grandchild, and may you rest in peace, baby Quinton. Yo, main girl. Hey, baby. So that was the notes that I had on Quinton Simon. And I'm just really testing my StreamYard. If I put a star next to your name, does that make you a mod? I think Unique Trauma Obsessed is already. Oh, hi, Pupsy Cola. Unique Trauma Obsessed. I hope you guys are really good tonight. I am. So I got my new guitar today, and I'm gonna be I'm kind of nervous about it, but I'm writing some songs for summer, and I want to come on here and show them. And I've got something for summer that I'm doing tomorrow night too. But I'm gonna go, and thanks for being here. I had to do this because I can't find a good video editor to make a video and put pictures of Quinton in, which is what I really wanted to do. But I want to see his cute little face. Aw. Look how precious. I love this picture of him. I don't know what it is about that picture of him, but he is just so precious. And this, oh, my goodness. Can't believe against all odds that they found him in that landfill. All right. Peace out.